So good morning. I'm Irene Tomkinson, and I'm really excited this morning to be here for my second time as a part of the Evolve program with Teachers of God. My week, which is the third Friday of every month, is to share with you the connections that I've lived in my life between the 12-step program, that path to spirituality, and the Course in Miracles. This week, I'm really excited to have as my guest, Jai Thornell. He's from Sweden, which is so cool that we can do this on the internet. A couple of weeks ago, we didn't even know the other one existed. So this week, we get to spend the morning talking and sharing and getting ready for this. Jai's 24 years ago, he was a full-blooded alcoholic. This is how he tells his story, and an atheist. His yes to himself has taken him on a remarkable journey, and today with his wife, he works in their spiritual company, Love It. They offer soul manifestation coaching, hypnosis therapy, as well as course programs in personal and spiritual development. And A Course in Miracles is the foundation for all that they do. So Jai, so nice to see you and to have you here with me this morning. The step that we're looking at today, last month, I always want to say week. Last month we looked at step 1, which was about surrendering. The whole idea with the Course in Miracles and the steps is that we need to surrender to a power greater than our egos. The step 2 in the steps is came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And then in the Course in Miracles, the piece that relates to it is chapter 11. In the blue book, chapter 11 is on page 193. In the new purple book by the Center of Atonement, it's on 367. Either God or the ego is insane. If you'll examine the evidence on both sides fairly, you'll realize this must be true, because they both can't exist in a partial system. We try to do that. The ego, being that part of us, our willfulness, right, is constantly trying to say, I have a better way, it's my way. And that whole idea of letting go and just trusting higher power, the universe, Holy Spirit, Jesus Christ, whatever it is that we need to trust that is not coming from that willfulness, from our ego. It's a biggie. I mean, it's just a constant. For me, I've been sober, it'll be 36 years in April. That's when I was introduced to the steps. I've been with the Course in Miracles more like about 7 or 8 years. That came through Lisa Natoli and Bill Free. They're the ones that really got me involved in it. Though for years, like lots of people, I kept reading and studying and being with people who all referred to the Course, but the Course just felt like way too hard for me. I wasn't smart enough for that. One of the reasons I love introducing people to the 12 steps, for a lot of reasons, I think the 12 steps are good for everyone. And I know that's your ministry with your wife, and your passion is to see everyone on the planet have an opportunity to at least explore or know about the 12 steps as a path to spirituality. The 12 steps for me gave me a surrender and an idea about spirituality that I had no idea about. I thought it was all either had to be religion, right or wrong, one way or the highway. I didn't know it had to do with me and my personal development and exploring my relationship with my spirituality, my essence on this planet, and what's my truth. And I know you had a similar experience too. So why don't you tell us about how you came to be in the 12 steps and how you came to find the Course in Miracles?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for I'm so grateful for being here. Thank you for inviting me. And yes, I had to come in contact with the 12 step because I had some drinking problem. A little problem, not so much, but a little problem, I thought. And so I went into rehab And
You went into rehab because it was a little problem, or you
yes,
being...
it was a big problem, but my denial was so total. And
Oh, right.
So it started with, I was very successful in my life. I had a company, I still do. I was doing, working with advertising and marketing like that. I had employers. I was successful, a lot of customers, money, cars, whatever. I could buy anything. So, but I had a slight problem with drinking. And one day they were calling me from the rehab and asking me to help their company to reach out. And I thought, oh, this is great. I'm going to learn something about drinking. It might give me some ideas how to reduce it. And then after some meetings, I realized I was an alcoholic. I was not so much alcoholic, just a little alcoholic. So whatever, I went to the rehab, and I came in contact with a 12-step program, of course. And the first one was to surrendering that I was powerless. And I realized that quite quickly, because I knew I tried to stop drinking and I couldn't. Mm-hmm. So I could understand that in my mind. And the problem was step 2, because first I have to surrender in front of my drinking problems. And I thought if I only could stop drink, I had no problem. So coming out into step 2, they were talking about 2 things. Like I couldn't cope with it. The first one, there must be a higher power. And that higher power would restore me to sanity. I wasn't insane. I had no problem.
Let me just ask you this. When you were there, was there any part of you that was like, I don't know, like mystified or wondering, because that you got these people as a customer, right? As a client.
Yeah.
And that Holy Spirit would get your Fanny over to a rehab as a client, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Was there any part of you that said, whoa, there's some power greater than me that's working this little thing here?
No way. I was an atheist. It just happened by any reason. So no, I could not see that at all. Right. And for me, I got allergy if anyone would talk about higher power or God or Jesus like that. So I really, really struggled with step 2. And the first, and I got angry because first I realized I surrendered, and it made me some powerless. I felt I had something. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't strong enough. I felt powerless. And then they suggested I have to lean on a higher power. And that made me angry. And it also made me very angry that I said I lost my sanity. I didn't think that. I lost my sanity when I drank. But if I stopped drinking, that's no problem with me.
Yeah.
And the key for me was there was a therapist on the rehab center. He said like this: you must remember that religious people need spirituality, but spiritual people doesn't need religion. And that opened up a door for me, because suddenly there was an area where I can search for this kind of higher power. And that, trust me, my family were looking at everything at the scientific way. So I was started in the scientific way to reach out. In the same time, I tried to study Christianity, Buddhism, and everything between there, and combine it with scientific thinking. It didn't work really, but I realized, because I saw people being sober, they were happy. They've been sober for years. I could be sober for a week. So they had something that I wanted, but I couldn't cope with what they were talking about. So I didn't realize it then, but I know now that I had a very big, strong yes to myself. I was dedicated to find out, to stay sober and hopefully live a great life.
So tell us, speak to how did you recognize that yes? Speak to us where you thought that yes was coming from.
Nowadays I know it comes from, I would say it comes from my soul. Then I just, because I have a very strong will. It's my way or the highway. Yeah. So I thought I was using that strong will, that force in myself to plow the way. I didn't know how to or where to, but I did it because I was so determined to fix it. I wanted to fix me. Yeah. Of course, it was from the inside, some deeper from my heart, the love or whatever you like to call it, or the source. Yeah, right. But I couldn't put words on it because I didn't understand it.
Because it wasn't coming from your head, it was coming from your heart or your soul or wherever you want to call them, but it wasn't coming from your ego.
Yeah, exactly. And the same
excuse me, but that was I would call that like you were having transparency with yourself. You were being honest with yourself.
I was. Yes, I was. I got home and told the wife I was married to then, I said, oh, I'm going into rehab. I'm an alcoholic. And she said, what? Okay. Because nobody knew. Nobody knew. Nobody understood it. I didn't, but I was, and I didn't know how to. My parents were alcoholics, so I knew I had that picture of it, and I couldn't see myself in that picture. So the same therapist talking to me about religion and spirituality, he also said, from here to here is a half meter, and it's the longest half meter in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So there are so many of us. I can totally identify where because the average alcoholic worldwide is functioning. They have a job, they're getting, they're paying the bills, they're showing up, but there's that erosion that's going on internally where they're just so disconnected from themselves. I didn't like the way I was feeling inside at all. There was so much bitterness and so much anger, and so much self-righteousness. I would hear myself sometimes and be so like disappointed with myself.
Yeah.
What I was going to say about that though is that in this surrender that you were going through, when you said, I didn't want to be like my parents, I made a decision I'd never be like that, right? I was never going to be like my ex-husband who was a blackout drinker. I wasn't like that. I was different. It so speaks to the Course in Miracles because it's all about ultimate separation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like that. I don't need the help those people need because I'm different. I'm not like that. All the ways in which we set ourselves up separately. And I just thought of this in saying this to you is that was probably one of the first things that spoke to me in the 12-step program was it said, don't compare yourself with others. See what you identify with. Exactly. And that identification was always finding the light in someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So exactly. I was sitting on the AA meeting in the beginning, and one day there was this guy. He's been sober for 4 years, and so he got this appreciation with a medal,
right?
And so on. And I was just looking at him as 4 years, I reach up to you. So I didn't like people. I didn't like myself, and it was a competition for me. So I was in the beginning. I tried to win. I read all the books. I went to AA meetings. I just bought a lot of stuff, and he was just talking about it. So I was so full of shit. So I had to drink a couple of times in the beginning before I surrendered totally. I realized then I am totally powerless before my problem. So and I so like the headline for this conversation today about God. It's either God or me that is insane, because that was my picture of religion and God. If there is a God, it's always a he, isn't it? He must be a psychopath, because I looked at this world and said, how can you believe in a God creating this? So I was projecting my own insanity, my own illness out in this world. I couldn't see it then. I can see it now. Because I wasn't insane. It was the world who was insane, and God created it. So it's a psychopath.
I was, as I wrote about in my books, I was so angry at the church that I was raised in, and I blamed it for disappointing me. You know, I blamed it for mistakes that I made, because I felt I was following the rules, and I had just really screwed myself up. But that anger, like, it was just like eating me up. And that's when I picked up alcohol. I left my first marriage. I picked up alcohol and I went running down the road. But when I look back on it, taking that step to go into the first meeting was the first surrender, just to go and say, okay, there might be an answer someplace else besides my brilliance. I feel like it's like the Holy Spirit kind of had to hold me down on a wrestling match, you know, to get me to pay attention to what was going on inside, because I was kicking and screaming and fighting emotionally, not for this surrender, when I knew there was this little voice inside me that kept saying, Irene, you've got a problem with alcohol, and your way is not working. And I recognized that when I got into the course and started going through the lessons where you give everything meaning, nothing has any meaning. And I was like, are you kidding me? What do you mean nothing has any meaning? You know, then my life doesn't matter and doesn't count, or anything I've come up with can't have any value. And I mean, I could recognize it because I had so many years of the steps. And I could recognize, oh my Lord, you're back here again, Irene. You're back here, you know, down on the wrestling mat with the ego in such a big way. I definitely got through that faster with the because of the foundation I had, you know, with the course. And now the perfect beauty of it, the perfectness of it has just been so life enhancing.
Yeah, I do agree. And in every step in the 12-step program, there is surrendering.
Yes.
Surrender. And in the beginning, I'm giving myself up. But what is really happening is I'm going from separation into unity. And in the unity with first the understanding and the empathy with other people in the program, and suddenly you feel you belong somewhere. You have a place, not only in a group, but in this world. So it's for me, it was like growing inside me, that kind of love. And I realized that people were giving from their heart to me, and I was welcome into that space, that space of love. So I do agree with the foundation from the 12-step coming into A Course in Miracles. For me, I think it's just 3-4 years ago I started to study it, and I can see the connection between the 12-step and the Course in Miracles. So it's brilliant. It's really brilliant. Yeah.
How has it been personally? I mean, how have you like physically experienced some of the connection?
Between the programs, or the I would say the bridge for me is the unconditional love. Seeing with the eyes of the source, or Jesus' eyes, or your inner eye, to realize, stop judging
Yes.
myself and other people.
Yes.
And so there's love in every step.
Yes.
And it's the love to me, from me. It's the same love. And so that's one big bridge for me between them.
Yeah. You know, in the steps was the first time, I think, in my life that I really started to look internally at my responsibility for my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was very married to the victim spot. You know, if you had the poor childhood that I had, if you had the ex-husband I had, if you had the money problems I had, you know, you drink too. And then it was, you know, like they say in the program, pour me a drink, right? That victimization kind of thing. And then in the 12 steps, you know, later on, in the 4th step and the 5th step, where you start to look at your responsibility and how you cause so much stuff. It's just this, you know, in the course, we have those lessons that say you give everything meaning. I wouldn't have been able to handle the course had I not gone through the steps.
I do agree.
Because I was so much self-will run riot, and I was so, like you, competitive.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like I was copping out if I thought somebody had to help me. It felt like I was supposed to do it, and it was a cop out to be asking for help at any level. Mm-hmm. And you're constantly having to ask for help in the course. You know, I mean, in the 12 steps, you're asking for help for a sponsor to help guide you with the program.
Exactly.
And then I remember, like you, that first month where I had a month of sobriety. I had a month. Sobriety is freedom from whatever you're hung up on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, next month I'm going to have someone as my guest who is very much involved in the 12 steps of Al-Anon, which is all about family and friends, right? And she's also really involved in adult children of alcoholics, which is another 12-step program about looking at your childhood and your past. And so it's all kinds of stuff. I mean, you know, and what you want, I know you want to create a program that's the 12 steps for everyone, because it's such a simple path. Mm-hmm. And back to the course, they're so intertwined in my brain. It's hard for me to kind of separate them, because they both one enhances the other. There's just no question. It feels like the 12 steps was kind of the gymnasium I went to where I first got on board with this stuff. And then the Course in Miracles has just expanded my world so much with the way I see everything. But it all goes back to that separation, like me not wanting to be like my ex, you not wanting to be like your parents, and me thinking I had to do it all myself, the big I. There's been such a release and freedom from that. Not that I can't get hung up on that crap today, but I'm so much in and out of it so much quicker than I was before.
Yeah, exactly. And the feeling of emptiness inside, for me, it was like that. I felt empty. I didn't know what kind of emotions I had in my body, because I just have closed them down on my entire life. So when starting to open that door, it was strange. And I remember going to so many meetings, and I couldn't understand what was happening inside of me. And I'm so happy for going to the meetings, because I was so welcome. And I think in the beginning, after a while, that was the higher power for me, to know I could trust, because I was surrendering, and I didn't know where to put my trust. And suddenly I can do that in the group, in the program. So I started to trust processes. I started to trust people, and I felt such much gratitude in that. So surrender, trust, and gratitude, it's coming back even deeper now in the Course in Miracles for me. Surrendering and hopefully my will is in the same lane as God's will. So I'm trusting that I don't know, and I don't have to know anything. I don't know what to say, what to do, and trust that who put me there will guide me. And this is a big, okay, it has been taken 24 years for me, but it is great for me today to look back and see that surrendering and the deepening in that. And I'm so grateful for all the people and AA and all the other groups in the 12-step program. Such a profound process, and that's not the word I'm looking for. Dedication. It's amazing, and how can I be grateful for that? People have done so much work, so many hours all over the years. Bill and Bob starting up the 12-step. So I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful.
And for me, that foundation made just made me so ready for the Course in Miracles. And I found out about the Course in Miracles through the 12 steps, because there's a lot of people in 12-step programs who also get into the Course in Miracles. Because one of the things that the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous says, which is, the guidebook, the story of the program, says that this isn't the only path, go where you're sent, find whatever path really works for you. It really made me understand that my spiritual developmental task as an adult was to find the God of my understanding. What did that mean to me? And it's not my understanding like my head. For me, it's my knowing, learning to listen to my truth, the truth that is in me, the truth that we knew how to listen to when we were little. I call it your tada. When you came onto this planet, you were paying attention to yourself. And then as adults, we've learned, well, I need to do what you want. I need to do what you want. I need to do what you want. I need to make everybody happy. I need to, if I want to make money, if I want to impress, I have to please, 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 but never listening to this. And the Course, well, it started with Bill and Lisa by Lisa saying, you need to listen to your truth, kind of like take what you need and leave the rest kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the hang-ups that people can get into in the Course in Miracles is that they can stay in their heads about it. They can stay in the depicting every single little word and interpreting and having these arguments about what means what and what did they mean by this or that, rather than, well, how do you experience it? How does it feel to you? Because the Holy Spirit, whatever that is, that light that is us, it speaks to us. And if I'm not drinking and I'm not drugging, I can pay attention to what's going on inside. Under the influence, I think most of the stuff I heard inside was pretty much bullshit, but clean and sober and surrendered and intentional, I have so much more connection to the truth that is my truth.
Exactly. Yeah, I do agree. I think the book is written as it's supposed to be. So I think it's gonna be read and studied as it says. Not it's gonna be for me. It's important for me to read it literally, like it says, and don't think about what it's. I don't have to understand it. I just have to read it and follow. It's an instruction. It's a book of instructions for me, and I like to see it that way, because as you say, we are born into this world and say, oh, here I am, and that's the addiction, really, the illness of the ego. Say, I am here, and so for me nowadays, alcohol is not, or alcoholism isn't the illness itself. It's a symptom of the illness of the ego. And the ego is, for me, the structure of thoughts. I am, it's my will, I want this, and the emotions. And it follows this body. So I have an addiction to life, and get the life into my way. So therefore, alcohol is a substitute for God.
Oh yeah.
Kind of.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the addiction is the life itself, this body, what I think, what I want, and therefore I want to read the Course in Miracles as it says, as it's written, as it's channeled, because if the channeling would say something else, it would be written in another way. So I just read it as it is, and that's my way to do it. Because in that way, I stand aside, I put myself aside, the ego, hopefully, in some way, and just have the experience of A Course in Miracles. Does it make sense to you?
Yes, makes a lot of sense to me. And I think it's hard for us to, when you said, like, when we're born, it's the the tada that I'm talking about is when a baby is born, right? It sees itself as the center of the universe, because it is the center of the universe, and it's not arguing, and it doesn't have any rules about it. It's not judging that center. It just sees itself. When you hold the baby sees the whole glob as one glob.
Yeah.
Right? Until it starts to get a little older, and then it starts to do this, and what it's doing is saying, oh, you're that glob and I'm this glob, and it starts to see separation.
Yeah.
Or somebody says you're not okay. You then it's like, oh, I'm less than you, I'm not as good as you, you want me to do something different. And then we start getting all our clues from outside of us. But the very little ones that have been treated safely, that feel good about themselves, they listen to their intuition, they listen to the Holy Spirit, they listen to the life force inside of them. Yeah. It's how they learn how to walk. They just get up and do it. They don't say, oh, well, I'm not as good as you, or how's this going to look, or I'm going to look like a fool, I better not try that. Mm-hmm. They just are with it. Exactly. I had one experience in my life. When I was 16 years old, I was in a really horrendous car accident, right? Our car was crushed by a tractor trailer truck and went over an embankment. And I was trapped in the car all by myself. And they used the jaws of life, or whatever they used in the old days, to get you out of the car. And I was above the car in some kind of another consciousness. I was above the car, and I was watching them take me out of the car. And I remember thinking to myself, or I remember the state of consciousness was absolute peace and bliss. It was, the word that I would give it, it was just kind of pure curiosity, like, is this what it feels like to die? You can watch it all, but you can't talk to them. This is interesting. And I realized, in looking back at that, I was writing about this a little while ago, that I was so childlike. I was in that pure curiosity, no judgment, of just watching what was going on and just being with whatever was, with no fear, no anything, but just pure peace and curiosity. I've only recently really remembered that. Somebody took me, as a matter of fact, it was on one of Lisa's healing workshops, the one down in Mexico, where I had a massage down there, and it came much clearer to me. I had forgotten about it. I mean, I'm 74, it was 16. It was a long time ago. But I started to put the pieces together, like, that's what the truth of us is. The truth of us is at pure peace. Yes. So when we've had those tastes of it, and I've had those tastes of it in the 12-step program, like when I had some sobriety that I never ever imagined, like like I got through a month. That was like such a big deal. People that had a month, I thought they were gods, like how did you manage that? Exactly. And to have those moments, to touch those moments, has just been I'm so, so grateful for them. I'm so grateful to be aware to recognize them when they happen.
Yes. And it's, wow, it's an amazing story you have there. And I do understand that I haven't had the same, but I have similar experiences, and that moments, some of them are bigger and some are smaller, it doesn't matter. That is what kept me going, because it's like the miracles are natural in life when we step aside, and the miracles are the confirming for me, has been all the time. I didn't call it miracles before, but I do understand that it is miracles. So, and that's what kept me going, and to the understanding in the heart, the experience in the heart, not in the brain. And recently they discovered that we have neurons on our heart. You probably know that. So we have that brain, and it's so amazing to understand that the brain is sending communication from the heart to the brain in our head. So hopefully, my mission now is to connect the 12-step program with a Course in Miracles, but trying to reach out, because people say, well, I don't have any addiction, I don't drink alcohol, or I have no emotional problems or whatever. And so what I have done now is I am rewriting the 12-step program, but instead of alcohol, I put in a word as ego. So, and I'm trying to combine this 12-step program, talking about the ego and the Course in Miracles, and hopefully make a 12-step program for everyone to work with in their life. We'll see. I'm writing on the book right now. We'll see what happened, and hopefully you can help me.
Sure. I think the one thing that all human beings are addicted to is, and I see it through the Course's eyes, is separation, seeing ourselves separate. You know, alcohol shuts us off, but we're always fighting to like somehow protect ourselves from this enemy that we see out there, or we see in here, you know, the lack of self-love, the lack of trust, the lack of remembering who we really are. Mm-hmm. You know, that separation that says that we're not okay.
Yeah, exactly. The Swedish word for alcohol is sprit, and it comes from an old Swedish word that is spirituosa, and that comes from the English word spirit. So it's a chemical spirit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So for me, when I realized, wow, it's spirit, but it's chemical, so I changed my viewing to a more to the spirit of truth, whatever that is for me. I have to find out myself for what it was for me. So I listened to other people, I read a lot of books, but it's my experience, it's my understanding. It must come from my heart. Yeah.
I'm going to just take 1 minute to just recognize some of the people that are here. You know, Amy and Audrey, Betty, Bill, Karen, Carol, Colleen, Diane, Elizabeth. I'd love if any of you have any comments or any ways in which you relate to what we're speaking about, for you to share with us. Also, in the coming weeks, I am sure all of the guest hosts on TGF TV would love to have any of your ideas about topics inside of our categories. You know, mine's obviously the 12 steps and the Course in Miracles, but any of your questions or ideas for speakers, or if you have a topic you'd like to speak on my show, I'd love to have you and hear from you. You can get through to us from the Teachers of God website. You can speak to us there, or you can use my email, itomkinson@comcast.net. You're more than welcome to get a hold of me that way, and love to hear anything that you have to say to us today as I continue this conversation with Jai. So Jai, who is the man that started in AA, and who is the man that sits before us right now? How is he different?
Well, he's so different that I can't, that man doesn't exist anymore, really. I tried so many times to get into the experience of who I was, and I can't. So a couple of years ago, to make that manifestation, I changed my name, my foreign name, to Jai. So when I'm thinking of that man, that little boy that was hurt and angry, sad, and he's been a grown-up.
Do you have compassion for him?
Oh my God, yes, absolutely.
Was that a hard time coming for you to find compassion for him?
It was, yeah, absolutely. And I have to work with that boy, that little process, with that process inside me for a long time, and to bring him home to the heart. So absolutely, yeah.
I think that's one of the number one ways that we human beings separate, is separating from our younger selves. Whether it's pain that we don't want to look at and don't want to acknowledge, or shame that we carry that we don't deserve, but we carry it because we judge ourselves so harshly.
Yeah. My wife Samia, she always tells this little story, and I just love it because it's describing what we are talking about now. If you figure you're sitting in a sofa, you're looking at TV, and you hear this intensive knocking at the door, and so you go up and you can peek in the door, and when you look out, you see a little child standing on the other side of the door, and it's devastated, it's crying, it's so afraid. In that moment, you have a choice. You can go back in, sit down in the sofa and look at the TV, or you can open the door. And of course, everyone says, I will open the door and let the child in, and I will comfort the child. I will hold it safe. But with our inner child, we often go into the sofa and look at the TV. So we have to open that door and let our inner child into ourselves and comfort it. So yeah, absolutely.
I have a question from Carol. I do struggle, she says, with the balance of leaning on others for help and believing that we have all the power within us to do everything we need to do on our own. How do you find that balance? What would you say to that question?
I would say I do understand what she's asking about, because I recognize that. What I've done is, yes, I have everything in me, but it's kind of blocked. So I have to trust others that they see something or know something that I do not yet know. So it's the trusting is the doorway into myself. And of course, sometimes we have problem trusting other people because we learn not to trust other people, but we have to relearn and do another way.
I think that the word balance is probably the key word to finding peace on this planet. That, like one of the things we teach as a therapist is the hardest thing that we have to do in relationship, with someone else, is to show up for the relationship without losing ourselves. We're constantly like, how do I compromise? What do I owe? I'm talking about here in this illusion and the thing called life on planet Earth in these bodies. How do I show up for others without losing me? It's a constant battle, or trying to find that balance. And I think the same thing is true of internally. You know, how am I leaning on others? Am I leaning on others from a place called victim, where I don't think I can do it myself, or I'm insatiable, I can't make my own decisions, I can't follow through with things? Or am I leaning on others because I'm joining with them and realizing that they have a skill or a talent or something to offer me, so that together we can be in the solution, rather than they're going to support me in my drama over and over again? I think that's another thing, you know, when I call the 12 steps kind of the gymnasium of my spiritual life, it really shows me, or has shown me, well, an example was like the very first time I had to ask somebody to be your sponsor. You know, one of the things we do in the program, Jai knows this, you ask somebody who has more experience than you to be your sponsor. And their task is to tell you or share with you their experience, strength, and hope. They don't tell you what to do. If they're a good sponsor, they just tell you what they've done and how it's worked for them. So my job by asking for help is to be an opening and a willingness to like hear something that maybe is different than the way that I've been doing it.
Absolutely.
So when I know I'm asking in a healthy way, I'm not in my ego. I'm not begging, and I'm not being so stubborn I won't let a different viewpoint in. It's there's definitely a feel to it, like riding a bike, like, you know, when you're doing it, you know, and you know when it has value for you. Al-Anon is a great program for that, in the 12 steps, about teaching you how not to accept unacceptable behavior and how to show up for other people without losing yourself.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that, Jai? Can you relate to what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I can do that, and it's important that trusting comes from some deeper place inside you. If it's trust from the ego, it might go wrong, but in the same time, if it goes wrong, then you know how to do in another way next time. And I think as in Al-Anon, for example, sometimes it's harder for them to trust, and I went there too because I was a codependent, because my parents were alcoholics, so
Sure.
I have to join in there too. So I can relate to that, but still, balance is something. It's not something you have here. It's something you have in your heart. So you have to experience it, and that needs some kind of courage to trust. And you can't have courage if you don't feel afraid in the same time, because then it's not courage. So explore, and we have to relearn things. That's my.
Using the word courage is an incredibly appropriate word for that. I still want to speak a little bit to what she said about that leaning and asking for help. There's something about the asking for help when it's coming from a healthy place that feels like you're joining. You're not, have you ever had anybody like give you a hug and it feels like they're taking a hug, like it feels like they're just kind of hanging off of you, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't feel good to them, and it doesn't feel good to you. But I'm sure that she has helped others, and when she's able to help others, to share or to be there with some skill or something that she can do that the other person can't right now, it feels good. It feels good, and it feels good to receive it. It's a coming together. It's not a negotiation. It's not, I'm going to use you or you're going to use me, or I'm so hopeless. If I'm so hopeless, then I'm pulling off of you. I'm definitely separated from the power that is me, the light that is me. Or if I'm so walled off, I got to do it myself, even if it means banging my head against the wall, because I'm too proudful. There's a vulnerability involved in this too, that we have to use your courage to walk through the vulnerability. It's always about joining and letting somebody else in. There's a comment here from Missy. You're going to like this one, Jai. Missy would like to thank you, Jai, for sharing your story of deep transformation. It's difficult for many to open to vulnerability. His decision to do this has opened a door to a beautiful life. So she just wants to honor you and what you've able to accomplish, and about you sharing this with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. And I'm so grateful for what you're writing, Missy. And yeah, thanks a lot.
And then there's a comment here from Diane. I find that with ACIM, I notice right away when I feel separation, whether it's physical pain or fear, sadness, or frustration. Yeah. And you know, that's what the Course in Miracles and the 12 steps and all of this searching that we do with these blessed paths, is that we have a consciousness now where we can quickly get back on board with ourselves. It's not that we don't go off track, but it's like we notice right away, I'm off track. I'm getting all pissy, I'm being very judgmental, I'm not feeling good in my own skin. Then we know that we have we've separated. We've just separated from the peace that we are.
And that's where the 12-step program have helped me and many others, because I didn't know what it was that from one moment to another I was drunk. I didn't see the signs over the day, what was happened to me. So I could have a great day and suddenly I was drinking and I didn't understand why, but I didn't see what was happening inside of me, my thoughts and my emotions. And nowadays, when, as you said in Akim, you immediately notice when I'm out of it, when I'm in separation. So it's just, and it comes so quickly nowadays. So you have to step into it again. But the process to learning how my body works and how my thoughts and my emotions works, that's the process. So if I was thinking about the other question about trusting and say, I don't know how to do this. Can you help me? And for me, when I work as a therapist, I often say, okay, how do you, if you see yourself in what you want to be in, that situation or that state of emotion, how would it be? Oh, it would be wonderful. It would be great. It would feel free. Well, so how do you do it when you imagine it? How do you do it? Well, I do like this and this and this. Okay, there's your answer. So it comes from, we had the answers, but so if we get the right question, we can find it. That's my experience. So I totally agree.
And I think one of those answers very often can be like, why don't you go ask blah, blah for help? That can be part of the answer. Go ask blah, blah for help. I know what kept tapping on my consciousness was, Irene, you need to go to a meeting. You've got a problem with alcohol.
Yeah.
And I did not want that. I did not want that at all. Not at all. I didn't want that. I didn't want to go ask anybody for help.
No.
I felt so vulnerable. I felt so humiliated, like I should know better than that. That was my ex-husband. That wasn't me. And then when I got there, I couldn't stop crying. And the crying was just tears of relief.
Exactly.
As a matter of fact, there was this young kid sitting beside me. He said, and I just, the tears just kept coming. I kept trying to hide it. I was so embarrassed. He looked at me and he said, lady, I don't think they're going to make you talk. It's okay. He was so worried about me. And there were these tears and tears of relief. And it's like, it's okay, sweetheart. Right away, I knew my body knew where I was supposed to be.
Yeah. Wow. Right. Wonderful.
Well, we got some more comments here to look at. Okay, so this is Hale, H-E-L-L-E from Denmark. I don't know how to say your name, hon. Very useful for me, what you so clearly point out about alcohol being a chemical spirit working in this world, and Holy Spirit working from outside of the physical world. It really makes me see the difference. I am from Denmark, where we also have the word spiritus. So thank you for that. And thank you, Irene, for this beautiful and so giving TV program. Oh, you're more than welcome, more than welcome.
Beautiful.
And someone else wrote and asked, how do you know if you go to AA and then you realize you're not an alcoholic? You know, what do you do with that? You know what they say in AA? They say that John Barleycorn, which is an old-fashioned word for alcohol in English, right? Because this book was written in the late 30s, 40s. John Barleycorn will be your teacher. If you don't think you're an alcoholic, keep drinking. You'll find out if if you have a problem with it.
Exactly.
And I know that there are a lot of people who don't like the idea that if you go to a 12-step program, maybe you introduce yourself as like, hello, I'm Irene and I'm an alcoholic. So you're declaring something rather than like releasing it. For me, what I do is I say I'm grateful to be in recovery.
Yeah.
All right. And the recovery feels like I'm recovering myself. I'm recovering my soul. It's the same thing that I am in A Course in Miracles. I'm recovering. I'm recovering the place that I came from.
Mm-hmm.
When I first got into programs, somebody said that being in recovery, and I think it's the same thing as being in ACIM, is that you have your face up against a photograph, and every day you're in, you're stepping back, you're stepping back, you're stepping back, you're stepping back. And what you realize eventually is that's a photograph of me. And I'm finding the true me. I'm finding the me that is the whole me.
Exactly.
And that if AA or the 12 steps isn't for you, there are many, many other paths. We're so blessed. And you know, when they say, I can't remember the quote exactly, in the beginning of the Course in Miracles, how it says, I'm going to be bad at this, and I don't have the book. I got the book here, but I don't want to futz around with it. But the idea that it's not when you take this course, it's that you eventually have to take the course.
Exactly.
That's a terrible, terrible paraphrase of it. But the way I understand that is, it's not when you go home, but eventually you're going home. Eventually, we're all going home.
Exactly.
And the home we're going to is the essence that we are. Go ahead.
I so agree what you're saying. And the process, I think it's, if anyone being in an AA or 12-step program or in A Course in Miracles can say about the same. For me, it's like I was miserable, I was so empty inside, and suddenly I was identifying myself as an alcoholic. So and I was creating an identity of what an alcoholic person is, act, feel, think, and I can relate to all the people. So I made an identity. It's still so I can see it, but it doesn't matter because nothing is constant. Whole life is a transformation. So it's a part of the process to identify as an alcoholic, so I can understand and make the acceptance of what has happened to me, and then I surrender into that and I trust what is happening, and I went into the gratitude, and I grow in that gratitude, and stepping away from separation into unity and oneness. And now I have letting go of the identity of being an alcoholic because it doesn't serve me anymore. It doesn't mean that I drink because it doesn't give me anything more, because it's a substitute for God. So it's a process. I was scared to death that I would be alcoholic for my whole life, but that's fear-based emotions from the ego. So it's a transformation. So everyone who is afraid of stepping into a 12-step program, I can understand that it's scary. It is scary, but still, if you can see it as a transformation that never ends.
Right.
It never ends.
The recovery. I love the word recovery.
Yeah.
And and when we have that, like, it still always sounds like we're fighting the ego. It's like one of the things that I've done in my past life, you know, I'm a therapist and an author and stuff, but part of being a therapist for a while is I used to teach these DWI classes. Those are driving while intoxicated classes. And if you get arrested here in the States, every state has a different thing, but you end up having to go to some kind of class to learn about, you know, to learn about alcohol. And the one thing that, this is science, okay? The one thing I learned about alcohol was it's a poison.
Yeah.
We're not meant, these bodies that we've created in this illusion don't do well with alcohol, right? And so for me, I have an allergy to it. You know, like when I put it in me, I can't get in. It's not like I'm going to go drink a bottle instantly, but eventually I'm gonna. Eventually I'm going to drink more than I planned on drinking, you know? And there's no need for me to control it anymore. There's no need. There are so many other things that I enjoy that I don't need to go there anymore. And when I get into that kind of an argument, I can hear it's my ego. Yeah. Don't tell me I can't do that.
Exactly.
You know? And and so I've come to this place where I have been so gifted and so blessed, because I did call myself an alcoholic at one point, and I did surrender, and I got it that it wasn't my ex-husband's alcoholism, it was mine. It was the way I was doing it. And that I could be a real jerk. Yeah. But it's the way Holy Spirit got my attention. Exactly. You got a customer that took you to rehab. How blessed are you that Holy Spirit was that gentle to you?
Amazing, isn't it?
Yes.
Really amazing. I feel blessed. Yeah.
Time amazing. And anybody who says to me that they're afraid of being, and you know, like calling themselves an alcoholic, or they're afraid of a 12-step meeting, or they don't want to live without alcohol, I say go for it. If it's a problem, you'll find it out.
Exactly. I sometimes I say, if you go into a farm where there are cows, you won't become a cow. So just go to the meeting and see what happens.
Yes. Because the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. That's it. It's not like you have to turn over your oldest child or give over the keys to your car. It's just you don't like the way you're drinking, so you stop. But the 12 steps, the way Bill Wilson came up with the 12 steps, a lot of people, and I'm one of them, feel it was as divinely channeled as was Helen Schucman channeled with the Course in Miracles.
Absolutely.
And that he was desperate, and he begged and said, there has to be another way, because the way I'm doing it's not working. And he was causing so much destruction in his life and the life of his wife and his family.
And that's why desperation in any kind, even if it's not about alcohol or drugs, the desperation of feeling insane that I can't change a behavior in my life, that desperation is a part of the surrendering.
Right. I have another comment here from Aaron. Aaron says, I've come to realize that I need to see my husband not as a body with a problem drinking, but as the whole and holy light that he is, and trust that the truth will come, and listen for guidance in the process. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And what I would say also to that, Aaron, having been in an abusive relationship with ex-husband who was physically abusive when he drank and dangerous, I had to learn that my worth and value, that I deserved to live more peacefully than that. You know, that it was not okay for me to accept unacceptable behavior. You know, and that doesn't mean that I couldn't pray for him. And I have learned, I mean, he's since his passed, but before he passed, I found I found a lot of forgiveness for his behavior, especially when I was recognizing my own behavior, and that he never got up in the morning and meant to be as cruel and as vicious as he could turn into, you know, and that I pray for him that he's found the peace that, you know, he's now left that body. And I got taught this word once a long time ago in something called landmark education. And when they gave me the word and, I could hate what he did and I could love him. Yeah. I could hate what he did and I could not stay around for more of it, you know, but I didn't have to leave with a heart full of hate. I could leave with a heart full of forgiveness and a new beginning for myself. I think that was the balance, because if I say, but I hate what he did, but I love him, it's like I can't have this reality if I have this reality. And we're capable of holding both of those realities. And the ultimate reality is that I am a child of God. We're all that one child of God together, and that we don't have to accept unacceptable behavior. And whoever he is, your husband or anyone else, like our kids that are doing the drugs or whatever, is that they have a higher power and it's not us. You know, they have a soul and their soul is connected not to our ego, but to their own higher power that will give them what they need to find on this journey.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I do. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful of you to say it like that. I was in the state of my mother's drinking and other people, and I had to make a choice. I tried to stay in the presence of them, but I couldn't, because it was threatening my recovery. So I have to step away from it. And I do love my mother. She's not in her body anymore. I do love her, and I am so grateful for the gifts she was giving me of all pain. Because that pain is where from my growth is coming. Lotus flower is growing in dirt. So it's the pain that makes us grow to see our greatness. In that pain, we can't see it. But I so love my mother and my father, and whatever they done or not done, it was never about me. I thought it was, but it wasn't.
And isn't that what Jesus said? They know not what they do.
Exactly.
And I mean, Jesus was an example of moving that body of his through this incredible amount of pain and realizing that he wasn't that body. He was so much more than that body.
Yeah. And look, now when you say Jesus several times, I have no allergy.
Me either. I used to panic when people would say that, like, oh my God, I'm not a Jesus freak. Right. And now, you know, Lisa has really helped with that, because she didn't get raised religious. So she came into this, like, the free spirit and the innocent child that we all are in our hearts. And she has such a nice relationship with Jesus. I love listening to her talk about him. It's definitely her brother.
Me too.
Bill says, I think you have to look at your own feelings and judgment, and wholeness takes place.
Yeah.
From, who is this? Global Oneness Day? Oh, this person calls themselves Global Oneness Day. How cool is that? All right. As a recovered person, I'm still an alcoholic that lives in a recovered state of being. I will always be an alcoholic, but I do not drink or use, and I live in an awakened state. So they've come to some peace with that. Obviously, they don't have any judgment with calling themselves an alcoholic.
No.
Free of judgment.
Peace. Find a peace. Find a way to peace. Whatever path we need to go for peace, we have to walk it.
This is from Diane. I like that I'm recovering, or I'm on a healing journey. I find that instead of wanting to arrive at my perception of what I should be or become, I learn to enjoy the process of transformation. And I so know that, you know, alcoholism was my teacher. And it was an incredible teacher. And I needed something big. It was like I needed, hello, Irene. You know, I needed something that was going to get this attention.
Yep. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I just see it as a gift, as a gift, as a gift, and as a gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. It's a gift.
Okay.
And I think many people who are into alcohol, or if they're alcoholics, it's often creative people. It's strong people who it's like the passion comes out as destructive. So the transformation is to use that power so it come out as a passion instead. Right. So right. Being an alcoholic is not a. I don't know how to say it. There are so much gifts in those people. So much force and power. So bring it up.
Well, the big gift is that there was a common bond that we all had together, or have together. All right. There could be bankers and Indian chiefs and nurses and doctors and homeless people, and everybody's there realizing that we are one in our issue with the way in which we've had a relationship with alcohol. And just that is a big joining and a big combining, right?
It is.
Then the more you stay and the more you're on the spiritual path, the more you learn to recognize, oh my God, we're so much more alike than we are different.
Yeah, it's not weakness, it's strength in that unity, in that companionship. It's amazing.
Well, it's, you know, I can't help but thinking of those 12 steps, and I'll say it again, and we're going to have to like close up pretty soon. This has been so fun to talk to you, my new best friend. It is like a gym, and some people choose to go and do running instead of going to the gym, and some people go to CrossFit, you know, and some people play tennis, and it's all about getting strong and getting well and coming home to your whole self. And this is just one of the paths, and it's a path that is free. I mean, you know, because it's all the meetings are free.
Yeah.
And there's 12 steps that go with. It's all about surrendering the need to be separate, surrendering the need to be right. You know, that maybe we don't know everything we need to know, and that the answers are definitely inside answers, like the Course teaches us. Okay. Oh, from Sharon. How wonderful that we can wake to reach for the peace no matter what is going on. You both are heartfelt. Thank you so much. Oh, we can wake to reach for the peace. Absolutely. Yeah. And from Diane, I'm not the body. I'm not even the mind. I'm the spirit, and I love it. Hallelujah, girlfriend Diane. Thank you for those wonderful for this wonderful conversation of the heart. Diane, thank you for reminding us about the spirit that we all are.
Yes.
This conversation is amazing and so helpful. Thank you for sharing your stories and your truth. Colleen, well, you are very, very welcome.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And there's something from Irene. If life is all a bed of roses and we won't do the work we are here to do, stop running from the lessons. Turn and face them with the greatest power of all. When one heals, we all heal. Thank you. Oh, great. Thank you for that. That was beautiful.
It is.
I love to know that you're all out there. The hard part for me about doing this TV show is that for over 40 years, I've been leading workshops and groups, and so I'm used to having everybody in the room with me. So for this old lady now to learn how to do this on the internet, it's different. It's a different experience. Jai, it's been so nice to have you. Is there any parting words that you want to say to folks as you say goodbye?
I just want to say, everyone is so beautiful. We are all one. You are me, and I am you. So all is well, I will say. All is well. So namaste, my friend, and say hi to James Twyman and Bill Free out there, okay? Absolutely. And I want to invite you all, those of you that are still with us, to tune in next Friday at the same time. Your host will be Bill Free, who will co-host the show with Jenny Beal.
They'll continue to do their exploration of non-duality, and their show is entitled, Are You Ready to Experience God Fully? Oh, my Lord, yes, I am. I love the way Bill teaches.
Yeah.
And it's based on the lessons 41 through 50 of ACIM. So, and I look forward to joining you on the third Friday in March, and it'll be on step 3. Step 3 is decided to turn our will over to the care of this power that we accepted in step 2. All right. Wow. So until then, blessings to all of you, and thank you so much for sharing your questions and comments.
Yeah, thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you.